Point 1. Why should we learn from the past? To better handle now and what's next. Let's take a trip back in time, way back to the very beginning. Picture this. About 13.5 billion years ago, the universe pops into existence. That's when physics was born. Fast forward a bit, about 300,000 years and atoms and molecules start to form. That's the start of chemistry. Jump ahead again to 3.8 billion years ago, and the first organisms start to wiggle around. That's biology's birthday. Now let's zoom into about 70,000 years ago, when our species, Homo sapiens, started to strut their stuff. That's when human history kicked off. Now, human history is a bit like a drama series with three major plot twists. 1. The cognitive revolution, which started around 70,000 years ago, was like a massive upgrade for the human brain. Suddenly, we could think, chat, and create in ways that no other species could. It's like we got the VIP pass to the party of existence. 2. The agricultural revolution, which kicked off about 12,000 years ago, was when we decided to settle down. Instead of roaming around hunting and gathering, we started farming and taming animals. This changed everything, from how we lived to how we interacted with each other. 3. The scientific revolution, which began about 500 years ago, was like getting a pair of superpowered glasses. Suddenly, we could see and understand the natural world in ways we never could before. Math, physics, astronomy, biology, chemistry, all these fields exploded, and we started to really get the universe. These three revolutions didn't just happen and then fade away. They're still shaping us today. The cognitive revolution gave us the ability to communicate, solve problems, and create art and technology. The agricultural revolution set up the social and political structures we still use. The scientific revolution keeps pushing us forward, helping us understand the world and driving technological progress. And let's not forget our brains. As Homo sapiens, we've got some of the most complex brains around. We're social creatures, wired to connect with others. This comes from our past when sticking together was the key to survival. Even now, our brains are always on the lookout for social connections, because deep down, we still see them as crucial for survival. So, why does all this matter? Well, understanding our past is like having a user manual for being human. It helps us understand why we do what we do, why our societies are set up the way they are, and how we can navigate the present and future. By studying history, we can get a better grip on ourselves and the world around us, and make smarter decisions about what's to come. Point 2. What did the cognitive revolution do? It made us think, dream, and work together. Let's take a trip back in time to a pivotal moment in our evolution as a species. This was the cognitive revolution, a time when we, Homo sapiens, began to think in ways that set us apart from other species. We started to create and believe in abstract concepts, which led to the birth of cultures, religions, and societies. Before this revolution, we weren't the only human species around. We shared the planet with Neanderthals and others. But we, Homo sapiens, ended up on top. Why? Well, scientists are still debating that one. Some say we interbred with other species, while others suggest we might have wiped them out. One thing's for sure, though. The cognitive revolution played a big part in our rise to dominance. We developed a unique and flexible language that could express complex ideas and emotions. Think about ants for a second. They can communicate and work together to do simple tasks, but they can't chat about their feelings or social hierarchies. Apes are a bit more like us, but they can't create and believe in complex myths, gods, and other works of fiction. This ability to create and believe in fictions is a direct result of the cognitive revolution. These fictions, like the idea of nations, human rights, corporations, money, and gods, are products of our collective imagination. They exist because we believe in them and act upon them. People are willing to die for their country, work their fingers to the bone for justice, and build grand churches to honor their gods. But even with all these changes, our DNA still carries the behavioral patterns of our hunter-gatherer ancestors from 30,000 years ago. For example, we have a natural tendency to crave high-calorie food, a trait developed for survival in ancient times when food was scarce. Today, even with food aplenty, we sometimes can't resist overeating. When it comes to relationships, we've always been a diverse bunch. We've embraced monogamous, polygamous, heterosexual, and homosexual relationships. This diversity is another testament to the flexibility and complexity of our cognitive abilities. Before we settled down and started farming, we were foragers who knew everything about our surroundings. We spent a few hours each day gathering food and hunting, leaving plenty of time for social activities like gossiping, playing with children, and enjoying the simple things in life. Gossiping wasn't just a way to pass the time. It was a way to understand who was contributing to the tribe's survival. Foragers also believed in animism, the idea that animals, plants, objects, and natural phenomena have souls. This belief system suggests that we're not the top dogs in the natural world, and that other entities have their own feelings and needs. This is another example of the complex thinking that emerged from the cognitive revolution. Point 3. What's the deal with the agricultural revolution? It's a mixed bag. We got farming, but also got sicker and more unequal. Around 12,000 years ago, a significant shift happened in human history, the agricultural revolution. This was when we moved from being nomadic hunter-gatherers to settled farmers. This change allowed us to grow our populations, build cities, and create complex social structures. It also gave birth to political, economic, and cultural institutions, the very foundations of our modern world. But like everything in life, this revolution had its drawbacks. Let's take a real-life example to illustrate this. There's a heartbreaking story of a 4-year-old boy who lost his life because his father's rice crop was destroyed by heavy rain. This tale highlights the vulnerability of farming communities to the whims of nature and the uncertainty of their existence. The shift to farming also led to the spread of diseases. Before this revolution, we lived in small, mobile groups, which helped keep infectious diseases in check. But with the growth of large, settled communities, diseases found the perfect breeding ground. Plus, our reliance on a limited range of crops meant our diet became less diverse and nutritious compared to the varied diet of our hunter-gatherer ancestors. The agricultural revolution also meant more work for us. Despite toiling harder than our ancestors, many of us didn't see an improvement in our quality of life. Instead, we found ourselves stuck in a cycle of hard work with little reward. The dream of a simpler, easier life, one of the main reasons behind the agricultural revolution, turned out to be a double-edged sword. This dream led to the creation of social networks and communication technologies, meant to make life easier. But these advancements have also led to increased stress and anxiety, as we're constantly bombarded with messages and information. And let's not forget the impact on animals. There are horrific practices used in modern farming, like cutting off pigs' noses to stop them from escaping and killing calves to keep the milk flowing. These practices show the suffering animals endure because of our progress. So, while the agricultural revolution brought about significant advancements, it also had its downsides. It led to more work, the spread of diseases, a less diverse diet, and the suffering of animals. But we can choose to do better. We can aim for progress and luxury without causing unnecessary suffering. That's the challenge we face as a species. Point 4. Why is there inequality? Because we made up stuff like wealth and race. Yuval Noah Harari suggests that inequality isn't a result of biological differences, but rather a byproduct of human-made societal constructs or fictions. Let's delve into this a bit more. Today, we champion equality as a core principle. But rewind to the past, and you'll find societies that thrived on a hierarchical structure. This pecking order often puts certain groups above others. White folks over black and indigenous people, men over women, and the wealthy over the poor. These hierarchies weren't built on scientific proof or biological differences, but on societal constructs or fictions that sprouted from the human imagination. Take racial inequality, for example. Despite the physical differences between white and black people being skin-deep, discrimination persisted. This was due to historical happenings and societal norms that kept these fictions alive, preserving the status quo. Even after slavery was abolished, segregation and racial discrimination lingered, fueled by stereotypes and myths about black people that had been deeply embedded in society over centuries. Gender inequality, too, is more a product of societal and cultural constructs than biological differences. Yes, there are minor biological differences between men and women, but most societies since the dawn of agriculture have been patriarchal. They've conditioned women to lead feminine lives and men to lead masculine ones. The roots of gender inequality are tangled and not fully understood. There are several theories that try to explain why societies value men more, but none hit the bullseye. One theory suggests that men, being physically stronger, naturally held positions of power. But this doesn't explain why women were sidelined from roles in education, politics, priesthood, and law, which don't require physical strength. Another theory suggests that men's cognitive and hormonal systems make them more violent, and therefore better soldiers. But this doesn't explain why women weren't the ones strategizing the war. A third theory suggests that survival strategies made men more aggressive and ambitious, while women were more submissive and focused on raising children. Men sought social dominance to find a partner, and women chose the strongest partner to care for them and help raise their children. However, this theory is contradicted by the fact that in some animal societies, female dependence on help with child-rearing resulted in matriarchal societies. Lastly, the fact that women can bear children has often been used to justify their societal role. But while child-rearing is a natural ability, it's not women's only purpose. Moreover, the labels natural and unnatural are derived from Christian theology, not biology. Biology suggests that unnatural things don't exist, and all possibilities are natural. In a nutshell, Harari's argument is that inequality is not a product of biological differences, but rather of societal constructs or fictions that humans have created. These fictions have been perpetuated over time and have resulted in the inequalities we see in society today. Point 5. How are money, empires, and religions linked? They've all helped shape and connect our world. Money, as Yuval Noah Harari explains, is a fascinating concept. It's not a physical thing, but an idea we've all agreed to believe in. It came about because we needed a better way to trade. Imagine you're a farmer with a surplus of wheat, but what you really need is a pair of shoes. You'd have to find a shoemaker who just happens to need wheat. That's not very efficient, is it? Money solved this problem. It's a universal way to measure value. So you can trade your wheat for money, then use that money to buy shoes. This made it easier for people to work together on a large scale and build complex economies. But it also led to some people having a lot more money than others, creating economic inequality. Empires are another interesting topic Harari discusses. They're a bit of a mixed bag. On one hand, they've caused a lot of harm. They've started wars, enslaved people, and caused a lot of suffering. But on the other hand, they've also spread ideas, goods, technology, and culture far and wide. Take the Roman Empire, for example. They spread their laws, language, and engineering skills all over Europe, Africa, and Asia. The British Empire did the same, spreading their language, laws, and industrial technology around the world. So, while empires have done a lot of damage, they've also helped shape the world we live in today. Religions, Harari tells us, have had a big impact on what we value and believe. They give us a sense of belonging and connection. Buddhism, for example, was started by Siddhartha Gautama and teaches that all our suffering comes from our desires and attachments. The solution, according to Buddhism, is to just experience our feelings as they are without trying to change them. This is done through meditation, which focuses on how we feel, not how we should feel. The ultimate goal is to reach nirvana, a state of being free from suffering, desires, and even the sense of self. Over the centuries, we've tried to make sense of the world through myths, superstitions, and religions. These have ranged from animism, the belief that all things have a spirit, and polytheism, the belief in many gods, to monotheism, the belief in one God. But since the scientific revolution in the 16th century, our beliefs have become more flexible and open to questioning. This revolution, which started in Western Europe, has given us a lot of new questions and answers. The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. This has led to a never-ending search for knowledge and understanding, which continues to shape our world today. Point 6. What's the cost of our evolution? We've messed up the environment and caused a lot of problems. Yuval Noah Harari suggests that our evolution as a species has come at a significant cost. This idea is a reflection on the impact of our growth, especially in the areas of science, technology, and socioeconomic systems. Let's start with science. Over the last 5 centuries, scientific breakthroughs have catapulted us to unimaginable heights. Unlike religious beliefs that claim to have all the answers, science is a never-ending journey of discovery, fueled by hands-on research and the desire to understand our world. This shift towards scientific exploration came from the understanding that our ignorance was the root cause of many problems and disasters. But the quest for scientific knowledge hasn't always been for the greater good. Often, it's been steered by the interests of those in power, be it religious, economic, or political. Take the voyages of Captain James Cook, for example. While they contributed greatly to scientific knowledge, they also paved the way for the colonization of new lands. His trip to Tasmania led to the violent eradication of the Tasmanian people. This shows how the line between scientific exploration and imperialism can often be blurred, highlighting how science can be used as a weapon of conquest. Now, let's look at capitalism's role in our evolution. Capitalism, a system based on private ownership and free markets, has been a key driver behind scientific progress. It has encouraged innovation and discovery, leading to major advancements in technology and industry. But the pursuit of profit has also had its downsides. The exploitation of people and resources, environmental degradation, and the spread of inequality are all side effects of capitalism. For instance, the creation of the free trade market economy led to the transatlantic slave trade, where around 10 million enslaved Africans were shipped to America between the 16th and 19th centuries. This dark chapter in our history highlights the sinister side of capitalism, where human lives were turned into commodities for economic gain. So, how can we lessen the negative impacts of our evolution? Harari offers a few suggestions. First, we need to recognize that other systems like communism have their own set of drawbacks. Second, we need to learn from our past mistakes and try not to repeat them. Lastly, we need to be patient and have faith in the potential of economic growth to eventually reduce poverty and inequality. In a nutshell, Harari's idea that we have paid the price for our evolution is a commentary on the double-edged sword of human progress. While our advancements in science and capitalism have brought about significant benefits, they've also led to a great deal of suffering and inequality. As we continue to evolve, it's vital that we strive to balance progress with empathy and sustainability. Point 7. What's the big deal about the Industrial Revolution? It changed everything, but not all for the better. The late 18th century marked a pivotal moment in our history, the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. This wasn't just a change, it was a metamorphosis, transforming how we live, work, and interact with our surroundings. Before this seismic shift, most folks lived in the countryside, toiling away in fields. Making things was a slow, manual process. But then machines like the steam engine came along, and everything changed. Production became quicker, more efficient, and less dependent on human sweat and muscle. This led to the rise of factories and cities, as people flocked to urban areas in search of jobs. One of the biggest game changers of the Industrial Revolution was the birth of consumerism. Factories were churning out goods left and right, and there was a need to make sure people were buying and using these products. So, advertising was born, with clever strategies designed to convince folks that they needed these goods to make their lives better. For example, an ad might suggest that a certain piece of clothing would make you the talk of the town, or a particular gadget would make your life a breeze. Society itself also underwent a transformation. Before the Industrial Revolution, people leaned heavily on their communities and families for support. But with industrialization, the government and the market took over the role of meeting individual needs. Instead of counting on their kids to take care of them in their golden years, people could now rely on pensions and insurance. This shift also sparked a new sense of individualism. People were no longer tied down by their communities and families and could chart their own course in life. But this newfound freedom wasn't without its drawbacks. We humans are social animals, and this move towards individualism has led to feelings of loneliness and disconnection in today's society. To combat these feelings, we've created collective entities like corporations, nations, and religions. These groups give us a sense of community and belonging, even in a society that prizes individualism. But here's the million-dollar question. Has the Industrial Revolution really made the world a better place? Sure, it's led to amazing technological advancements and improved living standards. But it's also caused environmental damage, social inequality, and a disconnection from our natural roots. Not to mention, the mechanization of animal farming has led to widespread animal suffering. So, while the Industrial Revolution has certainly brought about monumental changes and progress, it's also thrown up new challenges and dilemmas. As we navigate the complexities of our modern world, it's important to reflect on the impacts of our past and think about how we can shape a more sustainable and fair future. Point 8. Conclusion. The journey of humankind is a complex and fascinating one, marked by revolutions, discoveries, and transformations. From the cognitive revolution that saw Homo sapiens rise to dominance, to the agricultural revolution that changed our way of life, and finally to the scientific revolution that has shaped our modern world, we have been constantly evolving. Our ability to create and believe in shared myths has been a driving force in our development, enabling us to build societies, cultures, and systems of governance. However, this has also led to the creation of hierarchies and inequalities that persist to this day. The advent of agriculture, while seen as a major advancement, brought about unforeseen challenges such as overpopulation, disease, and a more labor-intensive lifestyle. Yet, it also paved the way for the development of complex societies and civilizations. The scientific revolution has brought about unprecedented advancements in technology and knowledge, but it has also led to the exploitation of resources and the planet. As we move forward, we must grapple with the consequences of our actions and the ethical dilemmas posed by our technological advancements. In the end, we are but a blip in the grand timeline of the universe, yet our impact has been profound. As we continue to shape our future, we must remember our past and the lessons it holds for us. We are sapiens, the species that tells stories, and it is our responsibility to ensure that our story continues in a way that is sustainable and equitable for all.